apparently we were all copper-based. All of our physiology was based on copper. We were all blue bloods. Okay? We were all royalty. In fact, we still are. It's just that our physiology is not working the same. And the reason it isn't is apparently because of a nuclear war that occurred here. One of the nuclear wars that occurred here. Now, why Earth? Well, number one, it's a really beautiful place. Okay? It's not the only planet that has water. And when you listen to the scientists talking about, you know, the different moons that have water on them, you got to ask yourself this: where did the water come from? If you have a moon that has no atmosphere, how did the water get there? Because it wasn't always there. It wasn't always like that. It had atmosphere. They were moved. Even Earth was moved from its rotation twice. And there's a possibility, if it's able to happen, and I talked with this with Jay-Z, that they want to do it again. The flood of Noah was a moving of the planet from its original orbit. That's what caused it. Okay, we're talking about huge motherships that just hook a little chain to the planet and just move it. Okay, they have this technology, but that's what it is. It's technology. Okay, apparently we can do these things with our own minds if we're disciplined enough and we're clearly focused on our intent. And with talking with Jay-Z, that is exactly what Ramtha apparently has been teaching you. Okay, to remember who we originally were before we fell into time and fell into physicality. So I will read this. In your linear time of third density measurement of 439,231 rotations ago, war on a grave scale occurred in your solar system. This aggression occurred against those on your worlds that included not only you Terrans, but also those of Nibiru. This invasion of your system by Orion was led by a queen named Suti. This war was destructive on many levels and frequencies of physicality. We will focus tonight on your Terran physical form. It matters little to those who hear you, Alex, who do not listen. Please share this regardless of any emotional return to you in challenge. When your science truly removes their bigotry, they will discover of the wisdom of it. The last grave conflict was very harmful to your physical form. Many weapons of destruction, many of atom splitting have been used, which means nuclear weapons. This is the reason for most of your Terran skin tones. We shall explain. Orion was and is most interested in the females of your race because of the procreation, reproductive, and genetic strengths. We want to share the fact that much of your Terran history has been misleading in its truth by those who eventually conquered in control of your solar system. Nibiru won, but only a short battle, before they and other outposts were forced to leave your solar system because of genetic damage. Your original races were green-skinned. This we know because of large copper traces in your Terran 22 blood types. Also, the pituitary and thyroid were fully functional. The genetic damage to these organs was caused by radioactivity in air and all things of contact. The air was like this for a long time. It caused the genetic memory of these organs to be closed and almost atrophied. Your world experienced drastic changes in climate and massive magnetic fluctuations. Your different skin tones, spraces, are a result of an edema damage to your blood. It was then necessary for survival to create self-sufficient and contained environmental habitats, both above and below the earth. Now, folks, this is what the Garden of Eden was. It was an artificially created environmental habitat. Much of the fossilization of your Terran remnants is caused by this radiation of your planet. Your system contained 3 suns at the time. Only 2 remain. I'll read that again. Your system contained 3 suns at the time. Only 2 remain. Write it down, it's a question. Your physicality Your physicality in its original form contained a great balance of zinc, copper, magnesium, and iron. Your true blood color was green, like your chlorophyll. Some, we have discovered, even had a gold tint in it. As such, your physicality could survive in a high carbon dioxide atmosphere. Because of this skin color, the only stars in your system that affected your physical form were in the color spectrum of orange, red, blue, and green. Now think about that. If you picture in your mind everything's a holograph, which is a group of frequencies, because of this skin color green, the only stars in your system that affected your physical form were in the color spectrum of orange, red, blue, and green. Many of your Terran races were stranded on the surface. The genetic changes were the result of radiation damage. Your skin, your race, skin color went from green to red, which is the Native Americans, the Egyptians, and the Mayans, to yellow, which are Eurasians, to black, which are African and Afro-Americans, to white. Your white races were then considered to be genetically the weakest. Puts a whole new light on prejudices, doesn't it? I know the Nazis aren't happy about this. As such, the survivors and descendants of the war were genetically altered and became white through edema. And they were persecuted and forced to live underground, only to surface 5,508 rotations ago to the surface of your world. Now there's somebody had read this and they sent me an email and they had said that, I don't know, somewhere that there's a legend that the white race appeared out of the mountains of Tibet some time ago. And I don't know if that's true or not, but I'll ask the Living Encyclopedia Val if he knows. Let's see. The copper bloodline is now a small race on your planet, but it is strongest genetically. Your native Red Nation race is very strong and easiest to discover and understand. And folks, this might explain why there are so many abductions of the Native Americans on the reservations, and why even today they're still being persecuted. You know, because if you're a coward, you suppress the strongest. And of course, you know, many of us don't do much about it. You know, I don't want to get involved. You know, that's their problem, it's their issue. You know, we owe it to them. We owe it to ourselves. Let's see, the red is the closest to your original form among you. Your physicality had a natural defense to positive and negative frequencies due to the copper mineral in your blood. This lack of copper in your blood now has caused a partial loss of brain capacity and nervous system. Remember, your DNA contains cellular memory. It is possible to unlock this memory with the use of minerals such as copper. Your blood systems adapted to iron because of copper depletion due to radiation. We will share more with you, but we must return now. Be at one. They always end it with be at one. In your time and space at present is a great challenge to you all. That would be the expression of fear. For any of you to be in fear is to lack clear understanding of most situations. We have observed on your world, we have observed that your world is at a most confused point in your history and evolvement. We understand your remarkable drive and commitment to be alive, survival. We, however, are not understanding of your need to create tools of death, expecting they will keep all in a space of understanding and peace. It's pretty obvious, isn't it? We have observed that you build, create, and plan in a space of fear, not in the consciousness of love. So your defensive position of institutions that create and employ are always then in a state of unraveling and disintegration. We share this with you because they drain you and your earth of energy, both the spiritual and materially physical. Fear always has to feed. Fear does not create itself. It has to feed. The fear we observe is difficult for us to understand. These are the Andromedans. It depletes you of your focus on the original intent. Now, they've referred to this a lot, and they've never come right out and said what the original intent was, but I suspect it's that definition I read you in the very beginning, that that was our original intent. It is elusive. It's a very secretive energy. Fear withholds love. This is most saddening to see and feel. How can we share understanding and love when so many of you are withholding from self and each other? You guys need some viral defense or something? Okay, please try to feel the words. We as a race are trying to express to your race. One of your original intentions in creating your physical reality is the idea of creating and learning to manipulate and express yourselves through physicality, using your consciousness. It is your consciousness that is the gift of the isness that the isness has given you, and in fact, all things that bear spirit. It is the gift that has been clouded, and most importantly, clouded by fear. This creation of fear is completely irrational to whom you all are. Fear, as we ourselves at one time as Lyran ancestors, sought to defend and legitimize withholding of love. We have come to understand that withholding love only creates perpetual disintegration. We have discovered in our home galaxy the ruins of vast races having achieved recognition that have ceased to exist. They destroyed themselves simply because they withheld love and drained the very life force out of their intent and imploded and destroyed their self-creation. Fear is the opposing projection to original intent. The first projection of fear is denial. An emotion of incredible restriction. And as a restriction, denial and fear will result in the complete opposite reality as that which it claims to be. Fear is based, in our perspective, on a misunderstanding of one's own worth and security. Why is this so? We have formed a perspective based on your history. Your many religions have helped and hurt this process. Some of your world beliefs have many convinced they are sinful creatures of nature. Now, I just want to add something here. In one of my conversations with Mornay, the word sin came up, and I brought it up. I was born and raised a Catholic, so I was fully indoctrinated. And he told me that the word sin is a word that is pre-Sumerian, and the word sin originally meant genetic defect. So maybe that'll help you with a perspective when you read the Bible again, if you should read it again. Some of your world beliefs have many convinced they are sinful creatures of nature. Your sciences teach that your physical form is a pool of chemicals thrown together by accident, so that you are all an accident. Living meaningless lives of chance. And folks, the first group of ETs that get here, who are not going to be benevolent and they're going to pass themselves off that they are going to be telling you that basically that we are their creation, that they own us because they created us. And the fact of the matter is, they didn't. Okay, it's another lie, and the first group will probably be those from Sirius B that will be openly contacting us. They're full of shit. Okay? You know, the game continues, and a lot of people are going to fall for it because the earth will be going through changes, and they'll come down and we'll save you, and you know, this is the way, and so on and so forth. And, you know, basically what they're going to do is they're going to use our free will against ourselves. Because that's what you have. That's all you have is your free will. It's the only true sovereignty you have in this menagerie of a holograph, which we call existence. Okay, you are because you want it to be. It's that simple. And if you don't want to be, then you can change that too. But it's your decision. Okay, it continues. I'm sorry. You fear a God whom a book says is a loving, forgiving God, who will eternally throw you into an abyss for making mistakes. It creates serious dysfunction, don't you think? Which way do I go? And you do nothing, you know? It is in our perspective where this fear of unworthiness and insecurity is created from. Many in your world, Alex, have come to understand that fear, the idea of fear, is their enemy. And all of you struggle between understanding and fear and reason and fear. Please, we ask you to share this with your race. This struggle is in no way predetermined. And our perception is that this struggle will lead your world to peace and self-responsibility, or your extinction as a race. This would grieve us. It's time to return you now. And I was given that on 2/9 of 91. So, in dealing with the reflections that Morine and Phaseus have given me about our race, it's been difficult to want to come back, especially when I've seen how they treat each other. The very first time I was taken on board an Andromedan mothership, I have actually spent 3 months with them. I lived with them for 3 months in 1986. But but in our linear time, I was only gone 18 minutes. Time travel is a great thing. You know, I was home to make car payments and everything else. And I forgot where I was going with that. Oh, okay. How they treat each other. The first time I was brought on an Andromedan mothership, and they are 900 miles in diameter. Okay. They are completely self-contained worlds. Everything they need is there. I had to wear a belt so that it would keep my physicality together, so that I could spend this time with them. With the very first time I walked on, and in the middle of, they're made up of different levels. The craft I was on had 24 different levels. And in the middle of these craft, there is a 21 mile by 21 mile park with trees and everything, okay? And they use extensive technology and holographs. And they can literally create their sunrise, their sunset, okay? And the trees and plants grow because it is a holograph, but it is real, even though they're creating it with technology. The very first time I walked on, there were children. They teach their children in the middle of these parks. Everything's done in nature, like very much like the Native Americans used to do, you know, when the teepee got too small. And I walked on, and there were a bunch of children there, and as we walked out of a corridor, down a corridor, and out into this huge space of what looked like, could be anywhere, like Agora Hills or someplace out here, a park, the children moved away from me. And I was like really hurt, you know, I was like, oh man. And Morine immediately picked up what I was feeling, and he said, it isn't you, we have been teaching them about your race. It's really not all that funny. Okay? They were afraid of us. You know, and these are children I have never seen before, but immediately felt our energy, my energy, because I represented all of us. You know, and I do the best I can, sorry. I mean, but you know, I got my own stuff to work out too. So, you know, they're learning, and I'm amazed that they, you know, they still want to come back and help. Another time I had been waiting for them. They finally showed up, and as I was walking into the control room, I was being led by another Andromedan. Mornay was looking at a bunch of meters on the wall and some monitors measuring our atmosphere, and he looked really sad. So I said to him, I said, "What's the matter?" And he just pointed to the atmosphere and he goes, "Don't they understand that it's here because they needed it? They don't understand our suicidal tendencies. They don't. I guess they have the perspective that we should really know better." I don't know where they got that. So, I mean, that's just one of them, you know. Another time, Visayas was watching television on the ship. They were picking up television. And I told them that's not a good idea. Even on Earth, that's not a good idea. And he had been watching a news broadcast about a shooting in Chicago. That's what it was, where a cop shot a man, a black man, and then rushed over and tried to save his life. He had a hard time understanding why the policeman would try to take the life and then try to save it. He didn't understand the contradiction, and I don't know that they've still clearly dealt with that. You know, our reality that we know, that we accept as reality, is extremely foreign to a lot of other different races. They simply don't understand it, and there's like no way we could really truly rationalize it to them when they truly come from a space of unconditional love or mutual respect. And I have not done a good job in explaining it to them, because when I really stopped to think about it, it didn't make any sense to me at all, either. So, as Val would say, it's time for a new paradigm. And I guess that's what Ramtha is doing, teaching all of you and those before you and those to come after you. I've given a lot of thought to our race and the character issues, and I just want to share with you some of my thoughts on the human race and about people. A lot of this comes from my own experience dealing with us. A human being whose heart shows no passion is a person who doesn't have a life. A human being who doesn't give from his heart or her heart is a person who will lie to you. I've had to learn that the hard way. A human being whose heart is committed to nothing is a person who will not try, who will only take. A human being who is not willing to risk or take chances for love is a person who is absolutely empty inside. They're already dead. They're just sucking up air. I've come to this conclusion because of my relationship with Mornay and Visayas. I absolutely love these two beings. They are my fathers, my brothers, my friends. And, you know, in some respect, even my sons, because I've had the opportunity to teach them. I need your help. I desperately need your help. You know, we don't need to create the book of Revelations, and that's exactly what we're doing. And there are beings out there that have technology that are more than happy to help us play this thing out, because we are a threat to them. And the reason we're a threat is not only who you are spiritually, which I will get into, but it's also because of our genetics. Okay? Our physicality was the Terran physicality, which is what we're known as, was melded between human extraterrestrial and the primate race, as this is what I've been taught. And it is that melding of those two races which gave us our incredible extremes of emotion, which is why we can hold so much creative energy inside of us. This is why they're concerned, and this is why the Andromedans are in awe of our creative energy. Because here they have to use technology to create some of their physicality. We don't. They're amazed that when you leave your house, okay? When you leave your house, everything is still there when you come back. It doesn't disintegrate. Now, if you live in South LA, well, then you got to worry about your stuff being there. They're amazed at that, of the intent and the energy that it creates to create every one of those little tchotchkes that you have on your shelf. They're amazed. Because they're very simple. They're very, very simple. They don't have all the little stuff that we have. According to the Andromedans, what they have been able to discover, and apparently other races also have discovered this, is that they say that in our, what we know is our universe, which is a holograph, that there are 11 layers. I'll just deal with this. 11 densities, and now apparently there is a 12th. This is their perspective, okay? And they say that we fell into time, into physicality. They say, the Andromedans say, that many of the other extraterrestrial races are fascinated by what it is we know, that we have locked up inside of us. Because we have already evolved to that level, and then have come back to start all over again. They don't have access to this, what they think we know, what apparently is locked up inside of us. Not only that, but apparently we specifically chose this physicality because of the vibration that we held, because of the primate and human, because the physicality was able to hold such an extreme of emotions that we chose this physicality. And when you couple that with the idea that this physicality is also made up of 22 races, they say we're royalty. They say that every single one of you is royalty on this planet. That you are royalty. And that many of the other extraterrestrial races, particularly the benevolent ones, acknowledge this because of the fact that we are spirit and we have these genetics inside of us. The dark ones, which include the gray men and others, they see us as beasts because of the primate. How can we allow this to surpass us? And this is why the constant genetic and mental manipulation. And in talking with Jay-Z, you know, like she was saying earlier, we talk different ways, but we're really, in many respects, saying the same thing. They're concerned that once we move out of our prison of third density, that we will radically change everything. I don't know about you, but I need a change. Oh, God, I'm so burned out. I want to go home. The Andromedans told me that the reason that I am one of 4 contactees, apparently there will be more added in the very near future, and I hope that some of that has to do with my griping. I've bitched and moaned and everything else. It's just impossible. You know, there's just not enough people. That there will be more, and those that will be contacted. The reason I and the other three were chosen, I guess, in the first round, is because that apparently when they were here, they had a colony 62,300 years ago. It's an approximation. They were here for only 65 years, that I was one of them that was here. That's how I got here, okay? And there was a battle, and they were chased out of here. And I was killed in that. So, you know, when I write this number on the board, 62,000, that's a large number to me, you know. And I know it's linear time, and I know it feels like it was just yesterday, but I know that I'm from another place. And all of you are. You know, your souls were not born and hatched here. I can tell you that. We've all come from someplace else. They say that our universe, what we know is our universe, if we were to put it in our linear time, is a 21 trillion-year-old holograph. They also say that there are 100 trillion galaxies total in this, which we call our universe. That's including the other dimensions. 100 trillion. And some people still don't think there's life out there. I don't know what to do with folks like that, you know? I have some really good friends that I work with that are, you know, very, very good people. They're very awesome people, have full of integrity, but they are convinced that there's going to be a rapture, and they don't have to do anything but just wait. And God, that pisses me off. I mean, there's so much work to do, and you're just going to sit on your butt and wait? Suppose he changes his mind, I said to one guy. He goes, oh, he couldn't do that. I said, is he God? Well, yeah. Well, then he could, you know? Oh, God, I'm so frustrated. I feel the pressure of things starting to get tighter and smaller. And it's really great to see this. I was very disillusioned last weekend, and I had basically told my wife Carla, I said, that's it. I'm fed up. I've had it. You know, I even thought about not coming because I was just so burned out. Well, you know, folks, it isn't easy walking these two worlds. You know? You know, right. I forgot who I was talking to. And you know, there are times that when I go out for walks at night, and I try to call them down, and they don't always come. And you know, I look at my son and I look at my wife, and I'm like, you know, do I need to put all my energy into this? And can I do both or what? And there are times I truly wrestle with, you know, where it is I want to be. Because the two realities are so extreme. You know, I mean, when I go up with them, I am so free, I can't even put it into words. And when I come back here, it's just like, you know, there's the phone bill, the electric bill, the gas bill, the car payments, the insurance, baby diapers, you know, formula, goat's milk, you know, all these little things, you know. And I say to myself, God, you know, they really got the right idea. They keep it real simple, you know, and all their energy goes into creating themselves. They're not distracted by all this other stuff. And I wrestle with that a lot. The most necessary action now for all of you who are aware is to do what you are capable of to illuminate your degenerated societies. Consciousness is your scale. It always provides balance, which does not fail. It speaks to those and tells them what to do and what not to do, to one or all beings who choose to be evolved. The administrators of your governments are responsible for professional order, not your moral codes of order. The key to your happiness, Terrans, is in the hands of your own consciousness. We have perceived that you Terrans have arranged your lives not according to yourselves, but according to others. Your disappointments are due to this fact. This kind of conduct of yours is what is limiting your races. Each one of you is a free soul, a free consciousness. No one is the servant or slave of anyone else, though the hidden ones would trick you to believe otherwise. Mutual respect is imperative for a healed planetary race. Help is being extended to you if you so want it, because of our genetic lineage to your races. We would like to be with you during your difficult times, and we are right on the edge of that. Today, you are a planet and a race that destroys itself in ignorance. Your goal is to uncover the genuine human beings lost deep within yourselves. Always be at one with yourself. And then he went on at another point and said, we have been in communication with many races in discussions regarding militant decision-making. We all agree that conflict in the end serves one purpose, to create fear. And this, we know, removes the original intent from creation. We are hopeful that sincerity will gain a momentum. Just because they have these really fancy ships and, all this other stuff, it doesn't mean that they're great guys to go have a beer with. Okay? I want to share some things with you that I've not talked about publicly. And there are things that are going on, there are abuses of the past that I want to share with you what Morne and Faseus have told me. For example, one of the biggest questions we've always had in America is what happened to John Kennedy? Okay? I know that really bothered me, and I can remember sitting home watching the funeral on television. And to this day, it is like it was yesterday. Okay? I mean, he was no saint, but still, he was better than a lot of them. According to the Andromedans, God, do I want this on tape? Oh. I just remembered. Some of the missing children have not only been taken by the Greys, by Orion, but also the Pleiadians. Now, apparently in the star, in the systems near Aldebaran, there are human Terran colonies that the Pleiadians have taken children from here. When I asked Morne if they had permission to do this, he said no, there were many broken hearts left behind. Okay, again, whatever the justification is, it's still a violation of free will. And that's how you have to measure somebody else's actions. Okay? Sirius has also been doing this. There were many children taken underground, not only by our government. Many of the children were eaten. Okay? And I see a lot of heads shaking up and down. I just want you to know that the Andromedans confirm this as well. And ladies and gentlemen, they are our future. Whatever it's going to be, they are our future. And you've got to protect your families. Okay, the family is the target. Because that will pull the rug right out from underneath our society in a heartbeat. Because a lot of people find their strength, even if they're cowards, they find their strength in their families. When that doesn't exist, then we got big time problems. Children are leaving this planet at least 100,000 a year. And you're not hearing about it. It's from all over the world. We're just being taken out of here. And the ETs feel, some of the ETs feel like they have a right to do it. And basically, it's a deal that was cut with our world governments. Okay? I wanted to share that with you because it might help you when things totally start to unravel. And for those of you who are Americans, you know, you're about to witness the great implosion of the United States government starting this year, starting after April. It's just going to start to unravel next year. Okay? The lies are going to start to come out. The truths are going to start to come out. And you're going to be blown away at how corrupt your government is. Okay, again, I forgot who I was talking to. You got to understand, I don't talk to an educated crowd like this, you know? This is really a treat for me. 21 trillion years ago, as we are in linear time, apparently all of us as essences, as isness, as sparks of spirit, were someplace else in a completely different reality. And what they say happened was that the Big Bang Theory is basically correct in its simplicity, but the physical part that we know of was the last of the creations or realms created in what we call our universe. Okay, now when I'm referring to universe, I want you to know that I am talking about all of the 11 creational densities or planes. That'll make it simpler for you. What they say happened was that all the black holes were created because wherever we were, that space, that universe began to evolve. And as it evolved, those of us who weren't ready to evolve literally gained weight in mass. Okay? And in gaining weight, we started to fill black holes. And at some point, when this other universe evolved to a certain frequency, those of us that didn't literally broke out of those black holes and created this space which we call our universe. And what we're witnessing 21 trillion years later is the same thing happening. And what happens here is, what's happening now in our universe is that according to Morine and Phaseus, on March 23rd of 1994, a color and sound frequency started emanating out of all of the black holes. And the color and sound literally, in its unified effect, is attaching to all of the densities or planes. What's happening is that it's raising all the frequencies. Everything is literally being pulled up from the bootstraps. It is literally creating a holograph over these 11 creational planes. They're calling this the 12th. And the reason they are is that it is unified, but yet it's separate. And that they have been told by other races that there are beings of consciousness never seen the likes of before inside this 12th. And that they literally have the ability to look straight down through all the dimensional levels. What's happening is that third density is beginning to implode because as the frequency starts to rise of third density matter, those that choose to evolve, there are a greater number who are in fear and will not be making the same transition we will be. Now, because we're spirit, the essence of us is spirit, nothing ever dies, literally nothing. So what is happening is that there are black holes being created as we speak. There are dips, literal dips in physicality being created where people will be gathering, souls will be gathering as they make their transition into these spaces so that they can continue to evolve by literally creating another space. Unfortunately, one of these areas is between us and the dog star Sirius, which is why there's so much crap coming our way. Okay, you got a front row seat. And all I can tell you is, bless them as they make their transition. Because we've been there before, all of us. And I've been told on our planet that literally the probability is there will only be 400 million of us making this transition. It's a sad thing. It's a sad thing. It would be nice if it was everybody. And when you get to fifth density, look for the house with the mailbox with the balloons. That's my house. Going back to the genetics that I shared with you about us having the 22 different races and the primate race, and because of our apparent essences, where we've been on a spiritual level and then decided to come back and start this thing all over again, what's happening is we can apparently, our DNA can vibrate because of our ability to hold the extremes of emotion inside of us. Our DNA can vibrate at such a frequency, a high frequency. We can hold so much energy that we can literally take our experiences from here and part of our physicality into the fifth plane, fifth density. Now, when this happens, we radically will change what they know. Okay, this is why when people say, well, geez, Alex, why don't they just intervene? That there's more to that than you think, because when they come down here and they commingle with us, it not only changes our reality, it changes their reality. And a little piece of us goes back with them. Now, if most of you, let's just for an example, we're from Andromeda, okay? You all evolve, you all lift up, you all move into fifth density, and then you decide, I'm going home, and you're off. And we all march into Andromeda together. Their civilization, their reality will never be the same. And this is why many of the races, particularly the benevolents, are coming back, because they want a heads up. They want to know what to expect. They want to know who we are. Do you follow what I'm trying to say? Okay, now the negatives, they've got everything really nice where they live. They got everything under control, and they have their caste systems. All right? They don't want us walking in there. Let's say some of you are from Orion. They don't want you going in there and wreaking havoc. Start teaching them about free will, about freedom. They don't want that. Okay, just because they're at another level doesn't mean they're that all evolved. There's still crap there too. Okay? And they have a vested interest in control systems, control factors. And they don't want anybody rocking the cart, especially a race that they consider to be beasts. And what's really interesting is they created their own undoing. They really did. By tinkering and everything else. And all it would take would be one of you to go in there and change one of these systems. Just your frequency alone. So you truly are royalty. You guys are just awesome. And the war is about that. The war that's coming is literally because there are benevolent races that want our experience. They want our DNA. They want our emotions. They want us to be teachers. Because many of the benevolent races have lost their passion, folks. They've lost their passion. For the Greys themselves, they thought that emotion was a weakness. So they literally bred it out. And now they're dying. Okay? They're dying, and they're totally stuck on technology. Their children, they're not having children anymore because there's no passion in the body. The spirit cannot attach to the physical form. And there are other races like this. There are other races, and I was told by Morane that the Pleiadians in 982 years in our linear time would start showing genetic breakdown because of so much interbreeding within the one race. Okay? We offer a booster to that because we have their genetics, you know, as well as others, but we also have the passion. You know, the ability to hold passion, which is an awesome creative force. So there are some that really want us to be there, and there are some that are terrified of us being there. And that's really what it's about. The effects of what's going on here between now and 2013 are long-term. Apparently, almost 400 years into our future, there's tyranny. So what happens here is a major consequence because of who we are. And whatever we do here on third density, moving into fifth density, we will literally change 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It'll have a domino effect all the way up. Because apparently that's where we originally came from before we moved into physicality here. So we have to be responsible. There's a much bigger agenda here in picture. And I'm sure that there's even more that I don't know that maybe another contactee in the future or somebody else has already said. You know, you have to be private investigators. You've got to be detectives. And I know that there's so much information out there and so much junk and there's so much great stuff out there. But you're literally going to have to weed it through yourselves. No one has all the answers. No one. There might be some that have more of the pieces of the puzzle. But the bottom line is, every single one of you in this room, even the people outside the room who aren't here sharing this, who have no clue, who still think ET is a joke, they have a piece of the puzzle. They just may not be able to bring their piece to the puzzle when we move into fifth density or plane.
When is the collapse, the dimensional collapse, starting? Is it already starting?
It's already started.
With the sound and the color?
Okay. It's already started. Thank you for leading me here. What you're going to start hearing about in the very near future are something called rods. And they will be something that will be videotaped. And what you will see are large streaks just shooting through the air that are etheric, but are being able to be captured on tape. And what you're seeing is literally fourth and fifth dimensional craft moving through space, not having the slightest clue that they're flying right through us. Okay? And that's because you're beginning to see the implosion. It's great stuff.
And ghosts?
Yes, you will see more ghosts, more apparitions, because those that are stuck between third and fourth density will start being more and more visible as our frequency starts to raise and rise. A lot of them, unless they are healed, and I do not know how to do that, how to set them free from their self-imposed prisons, will be exiting, transitioning. Angels, folks, be very careful about somebody who tells you they're an angel. For example, I've asked about the archangels. And the Andromedan perspective of that is that the archangel Michael was literally a fleet of craft that were called Michael. That was the name of the fleet. And they used to patrol the northern hemisphere of the planet when Orion was here in full force. Gabriel was the name of another fleet of craft, and so on and so forth. It has been changed and created into something that will save you and rescue you, when in fact, that was not the original intent at all. Okay. What's going to happen in the next 10 years? I will share this with you. There are definitely some things underneath the Sphinx, but the bulk of the real stuff that will tell us about our ancient history is still underneath the pyramid. And there was a vault built 3 levels deep, and the pyramid was built over it. Okay, that's where the real juice is. That's where the real knowledge is. The Sphinx will have some things, but it's a distraction. You know, these guys are real good at what they do, at diverting attention from reality, from truth. They're excellent at it. If they put that much energy into telling the truth, God, we'd all be out of here. You know? Okay, hold on one sec. I don't have it somewhere. Okay, things that are going to happen in the next 10 years. Number one, we're going to truly find out who we are genetically. Information will be coming from all corners of the earth from contactees. There will be more and more contacts, and they will tell us about the 22 different races and more of our history. There will also be massive earth changes. They will start with a magnetic pole shift, which could happen anytime between now and the year 2001. Things have been sped up. We're already starting to see the magnetic poles shift as we see birds migrate in the wrong direction at the wrong times of year. The birds move along the Earth's magnetic grid lines. And I wanted to share something with you. I'm very fascinated with the Native Americans. And I love to collect feathers when I find them on my journeys and my vision quests. And I was given this on 3/19 of 94, and I just want to share this with you. It's primarily about the Native Americans and the original intent behind them wearing the feather. In the ancient way, your native red American races understood the nature of the birds. The birds are very sensitive to magnetic fields and microwave energy, as you call it. They will migrate along the Earth energy grids, and their wings, which are made up primarily of feathers, were to be watched as they were very sensitive. To watch and follow the birds is to know which way the Earth's magnetic flows are moving. They would also, the Native American races, camp off these magnetic flows because the radiation would become harmful in time. The feathers are very sensitive to energy fields and magnetic fields. They are, in fact, an antenna. The feather would attract telepathic communication with all the tribe. As the chief would think or quietly discuss plans, the rest of the tribe would, in the ancient days, receive the message with few or no words. I'm very fascinated with the Native Americans, and I love to collect feathers when I find them on my journeys and my vision quests. And I was given this on 3/19 of 94, and I just want to share this with you. It's primarily about the Native Americans and the original intent behind them wearing the feather. In the ancient way, your native red American races understood the nature of the birds. The birds are very sensitive to magnetic fields and microwave energy, as you call it. They will migrate along the Earth energy grids, and their wings, which are made up primarily of feathers, were to be watched as they were very sensitive. To watch and follow the birds is to know which way the Earth's magnetic flows are moving. They would also, the Native American races, camp off these magnetic flows because the radiation would become harmful in time. The feathers are very sensitive to energy fields and magnetic fields. They are, in fact, an antenna. The feather would attract telepathic communication with all the tribe. As the chief would think or quietly discuss plans, the rest of the tribe would, in the ancient days, receive the message with few or no words. Isn't that cool? Asked my wife if I should wear a feather in my hair. She says, no. Now, what's really interesting is that most of our cities are built on the magnetic grids. when, you know, there's a lot of folks sick in the inner city. There's a lot of turmoil in the inner cities, okay? Because we're not in balance. And of course, we persecuted the Indians because their knowledge was different than ours. Okay, the quiet science of archaeology has and will discover more and more of our ancient history, including extraterrestrial civilizations. There is going to be the acknowledgement of a temple complex that belonged to Lemuria that is apparently still intact, lying approximately 150 miles southwest of Easter Island. I'm told it's huge. I've also been told the Russians already know it's there. They have photographed it and explored it in many submarines. We are going to discover that consciousness, I know you guys already know this, but for those who aren't here, we are going to discover that consciousness is not in the brain, but is located in its entirety in the energy field and or aura. And that energy field is the 4 to 14 ounces the body loses at the moment of death. Okay, I know you guys know that. Let's see. UFOs. Okay, apparently there have been discussions amongst benevolent councils, and I will only speak for the Andromeda Council because that's what Morane has told me, that they have told all of the negative extraterrestrials in and or on our planet and on the moon to be out of here no later than August 12th, the year 2003. I've also been told that there's a very high probability that we could wake up some morning in that area of time and our moon will not be here. That is because it is the first stage of defense. And they will literally hit it with a tractor beam and pull it away from us if they're going to do battle. Because if they were to attack it to get in here for whatever reason and it were to explode, everything would be for naught. Now, when I first talked about this, there were some people that were very upset. Well, geez, what about the ocean and the waves and my moon cycle and all this other stuff? So I went back to Mornay and I says, you know, hey, I've got, you know, some gripes about the moon disappearing. And he says, well, we'll just get you another one. And I says, you'll make sure it won't be hollow, right? He says, yes. So apparently all that would really happen would be that the oceans would become lakes. We wouldn't have the tides, and we probably wouldn't have the crazy attitudes and such like that. I've asked them about astrology, and I want you to know this is their perspective. Okay? Does everybody hear what I just said? Okay. Their perspective is that it's not accurate. That the purpose for charting the stars, what originally we were taught and left with, was because they needed to know the magnetic flows of the stars and the systems for space travel. And that somehow we have taken that and made an entirely new, different belief system out of that knowledge.